deep inside the forgotten corners of the world, where sunlight filters down like liquid gold and vanishes into shadows older than human existence. The jungles breathe with ancient memories, stories carved into the trunks of colossal trees that rise like giants guarding the secrets of time. Here, in the humid silence broken only by distant cries and rustling leaves, legends are born, not from imagination, but from encounters so strange, so chilling, and so deeply rooted in reality that they blur the line between the living world and the unknown realms beyond it. Before we go any deeper, make sure to subscribe to this channel in your own style, because what you're about to hear are stories that wander beyond the edge of ordinary reality. Our journey begins in the Amazon rainforest, a universe of its own, where the oxygen feels thicker, the air hums with life, and the shadows seem to move with purpose. For centuries, tribes living here have spoken of the ancient eyes, a force said to watch every living thing with silent judgment. According to the Yakwara tribe, anyone who enters the deepest sectors of the Amazon is never truly alone. Something old, older than the trees themselves, observes them from just beyond the limits of human sight. These stories may sound like folklore, but countless explorers have returned with eerily similar experiences. In 1909, a seasoned explorer named Harold Quinn documented something extraordinary in his leather-bound journal. He described entering a part of the forest the locals refused to approach, a place where even predators avoided, and where he felt a sensation he could only describe as being seen by the jungle itself. Harold wrote that as he moved deeper, he heard faint whispers, not human, not animal, but something in between, like the forest murmuring secrets in a language he wasn't meant to understand. His compass spun wildly, birds vanished, and the usual hum of insects disappeared into a natural silence. Suddenly he saw them, two golden eyes floating in the darkness between massive roots, steady and unblinking. At first he assumed it was a jaguar, but the eyes were too high, far above the height of any known creature. As he stepped back, the eyes blinked once, slowly, deliberately, as if acknowledging his presence. Then a second pair of eyes appeared beside them, and a third, and a fourth. Soon dozens of glowing eyes formed a circle around him, rising at heights impossible for any natural animal. Terrified, Harold dropped his torch and ran blindly through the undergrowth. When he finally escaped the area, panting and shaking, he looked back, only to see the eyes watching from the darkness, still as statues. He never went back. But the strange part? Every tribe elder who heard his story confirmed he saw the watchers, the forest guardians. If they let him leave, it means the jungle accepted his fear. Another legend comes from the Congo Basin, where hunters tell stories of the Kivanga spirit, a massive shadow-like being with no fixed shape. They say the Kivanga moves like oil through the trees, silent and smooth, appearing only when the balance of the forest is disturbed. One hunter describes seeing a large, shifting silhouette gliding through the trees, ignoring humans yet observing them with an intelligence that felt unsettlingly human. In 1960, a group of soldiers patrolling the area reported encountering a shadow animal, the size of an elephant that moved without sound. When they fired at it, the bullets passed through harmlessly as if hitting smoke. The being dissolved into the trees, leaving behind a cold wave of air and a haunting echo that made their skin crawl. These accounts might sound fictional, but tribal elders insist the Kivanga is real, a spirit formed from the collective memory of the jungle. They say, you do not see it unless it chooses to be seen. And then there is the legend of the Midnight River, found deep in the jungles of Southeast Asia, where the water turns pitch black at night under no moonlight. Locals believe the river becomes a passageway for lost spirits after dark. In the 1800s, a merchant crossing the river heard the sound of someone calling his name, soft, gentle, familiar. He turned and saw his dead brother standing on the opposite bank, beckoning him. As he stepped closer, villagers pulled him back violently. When he looked again, his brother had vanished, replaced by a tall, thin figure with elongated arms, its face blank and white like a mask. Villagers say the Midnight River can mimic the voices of the dead to lure people into its depths. Many who follow those voices are never found again. Another chilling story comes from Papua New Guinea, where the moon-faced tribe speaks of a being they call the Sky Whisperer. They say it appears only on nights when the moon is bright and the winds are perfectly still. Its face is circular and pale, resembling a full moon, and its body is elongated like a distorted shadow. According to the tribe, the Sky Whisperer is a messenger between the living world and the world of ancient spirits. One anthropologist claimed to see a figure with a glowing disc-shaped face hovering above the tree line, moving without walking. The next morning, strange symbols were found etched into the soft mud around his camp, symbols that no one could identify. The jungle is full of such stories, not myths, but accounts told by people who have lived alongside the forest for generations. These are not tales written for entertainment. They are warnings passed down to protect anyone who dares to explore the unknown heart of the wild. Throughout history, explorers who underestimated these warnings paid the price. Some vanished without a trace. Some returned forever changed. Some came back with stories so bizarre that no scientific explanation could satisfy the witnesses. And as we peel back the layers of these legends, one truth becomes frighteningly clear. The jungle is not a place. It is a presence, a living, breathing force with rules older than humanity, watching silently, judging subtly, and remembering everything. It hides secrets beneath roots thicker than tree trunks, secrets preserved in darkness untouched by sunlight for centuries. As we continue this journey through the forgotten tales and chilling encounters from the world's deepest jungles, remember, these are not fantasies. These are the stories that survived, the ones that didn't, remain buried forever under the canopy. Beyond the stories already whispered through the leaves and carried by the trembling calls of distant creatures, there exists a second world of jungle legends, darker, more complex, and infinitely more terrifying. Stories so deeply rooted in fear and truth that even the bravest tribes refuse to speak them at night. If the first layer of the jungle's mysteries reveals spirits, watchers, and beings older than mankind, then the second layer plunges into a realm where the line between living and dead dissolves entirely. Our first story in this deeper descent takes us to the impenetrable forests of Borneo, where locals speak of the backless maiden, a ghostly woman who appears at dusk, wandering near abandoned trails. She is breathtakingly beautiful from the front, with long black hair and eyes so gentle they lure even the wary traveler closer. But the moment she turns away, her back reveals a horrifying hollow cavity, empty like the inside of a dead tree. Witnesses say roots and vines writhe inside her spine, moving as if alive. In the 1990s, loggers reported seeing her walking barefoot across muddy terrain without leaving footprints. One man claimed she approached him singing softly, her voice dripping with sorrow. When he stepped closer, she turned, and the hollow in her back opened, stretching like a mouth ready to swallow him whole. He fainted instantly, waking hours later in the middle of the jungle, surrounded by claw-like root marks in the soil. Further west, in the dense jungles of Tanzania, people feared the laughing beast, a creature said to mimic human laughter with disturbing accuracy. Villagers believe it protects the forest from outsiders, using false laughter to confuse and mislead intruders. One researcher hiking alone heard a child laughing behind him. When he turned, there was nothing. Moments later, the laugh came again, this time from the treetops, and then from the ground, and then from every direction at once. He ran, stumbling through vines and mud until he reached safety, but the laughter followed him in echoes for hours, as if mocking his escape. In the Amazon, a terrifying legend speaks of the root men, humanoid beings who emerge from the ground at night, their bodies twisting like living vines. According to tribal accounts, the root men are protectors of sacred lands. They do not kill without reason, but they paralyze intruders by wrapping vines around their limbs, dragging them underground where no human sound returned. In 1978, an archaeologist exploring an ancient burial ground reported waking up to find vine-like marks around his legs, as if something had tried pulling him into the soil while he slept. Even more chilling is the story of the crying tree in Madagascar, a massive ancient tree believed to be inhabited by the trapped spirits of those who die in the forest. On windless nights, villagers say the tree emits soft crying sounds, sometimes whispers, sometimes screams, sometimes desperate pleas for help. Locals insist the tree steals voices and stores them in its hollow trunk. In one documented case, a widow heard her dead husband's voice calling her name from within the tree. She fainted and refused to return for years, but perhaps the most frightening story comes from South America's untouched interior, where the legend of the two-headed shadow panther has terrified tribes for generations. Hunters swear they've seen an enormous black panther with two heads, one watching the forest behind it, the other watching ahead. Its footsteps make no sound, and its eyes glow faintly red like dying embers. According to tribal lore, it appears not to hunt prey, but to track those who are not meant to be there. One hunter reported that the beast followed him for hours. Every time he turned, one of the heads stared directly at him, unblinking, expressionless. He fired his gun, but the bullets passed through like smoke. The creature continued stalking him until he exited the forbidden zone, then vanished instantly. In India's Sundarbans, fishermen fear an entity they call the Silent Widow, a spectral woman dressed in tattered white, seen walking along riverbanks at dawn. Witnesses say she leaves no footprints, casts no shadow, and her reflection does not appear in water. Many believe she is the spirit of a woman who drowned centuries ago. Her presence is said to bring deadly storms, disappearing boats, and vanishing fishermen. One survivor claimed she approached his boat slowly. Her face veiled. When he tried to look away, a cold hand touched his shoulder, but when he turned, no one was there. Then there is the terrifying phenomenon known as the forest without echo. Deep within Central Africa, explorers have discovered a region where sound behaves unnaturally. Shouts produce no echo. Gunshots vanish instantly. It is as though the air itself absorbs sound. In 1964, an entire scientific team disappeared while studying the area, and the only clue left behind was a notebook filled with pages repeating a single phrase: "It hears us. It hears everything." And finally, we reach the legend of the white-eyed sentinel, a colossal humanoid creature said to wander the Congo Basin. Witnesses describe it as pale, hairless, and standing nearly 9 feet tall, with completely white eyes glowing faintly in darkness. Unlike other jungle myths, the sentinel does not kill, it does not hunt, it simply watches. Hunters say it mimics human footsteps perfectly, walking when they walk and stopping when they stop, as though trying to understand human behavior. One hunter claimed he turned suddenly and saw the creature only a few meters behind him, standing perfectly still, its white eyes studying him with unsettling intelligence. When he blinked, it disappeared. These stories from every corner of the world, South America, Africa, Asia, Oceania, share one theme. The jungle is alive with intelligence beyond human comprehension. It is not simply a collection of trees, vines, and rivers. It is an ancient being, aware, powerful, and deeply protective of its secrets. Those who attempt to conquer it are punished, those who respect it are spared, and those who dare to uncover its oldest legends discover truths they can never forget. The jungle has lived longer than human civilization. It has seen empires rise and fall. It has watched species appear and disappear. And through it all, its guardians, spirits, shadows, and living forces have remained hidden until someone steps too close, listens too deeply, or wanders too far into the places where sunlight fears to enter. These are the stories humanity was never meant to know. Yet here they are, whispered, passed down, and now shared. But remember this one final truth. Once you hear the legends of the jungle hears you too.